that just came out. Some new news that just came out about Jake Gyllenhaal and Mysterio. So, of course, everyone here has seen Spider-Man Homecoming, which is a really good superhero movie. If you haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming, it's fucking awesome. And the last two Spider-Men, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was okay. We don't like to talk about what happened in Spider-Man 3 with the whole hair swooping thing. We won't talk about that. The other Spider-Man with, what's his name? It just wasn't quite there. They tried to make something happen with the whole Gwen Stacy thing. It just didn't work that much. Tom Holland has knocked it out of the park. The team working on Spider-Man Homecoming have knocked it out of the park. And they even got Michael Keaton to play Vulture, which I didn't think was going to be cool. It was pretty cool. They got Donald Glover playing Miles Morales' uncle, which might mean that he'll be playing another character in the next Spider-Man. Like, Miles Morales might be coming through outside of Earth 616. We'll see. That'll be pretty fucking cool. So they just announced that Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be playing the great Mysterio in the next Spider-Man. And I was excited by this. I was excited by this because Mysterio is one of those villains who just he was one of the Sinister Six in the original Spider-Man comic books. In the 90s, I remember thinking this guy, who is this dude just walking around in a green suit? And his origin story is pretty interesting. Similar to Booster Gold, this guy was a special effects dude, a stuntman. He wanted a lot of attention, and he figured one of his ways of doing it would be to do evil stuff as a supervillain, because everyone sort of likes a supervillain. And he had this crazy design of having a fishbowl on his fucking head. The most interesting way I've seen Mysterio used was in Old Man Logan, when Mysterio basically, is this throwaway character who is used to trick Logan into killing all of the X-Men. It's a little far-fetched, I'll admit that. Look at this. Look at this lazy photoshopping. Fuck all of that. I wanted to speculate a little bit, just real quick, on what I would like Mysterio to do in this film. What I would like him to be like. So this is my design for a Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. My basic idea for Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, or what I'd want to see, is basically just don't veer too far away from what he did in Nightcrawler. I would love to see them not use almost any element of this outfit that was used for the 90s Mysterio design. This thing is really, this is pretty cool right here. I like this. This is probably the best Mysterio design I've seen. So if they're going to go with the fishbowl, they should do this, but the cape and the green, they should just stay away from that. But again, my design is here, and I would like to see him just go right back to Nightcrawler. We already had Jake Gyllenhaal playing this character who sort of craved the spotlight and craved attention. So I think we should run with that. Run with that, a shard of that character he created. And I would love to see him have the not the fishbowl, but the glass kind of embedded, and not in a Tony Stark way, but sort of in a jagged, fucked up way in his face, where his head is almost like Rorschach, but with a mirror, and it's just like reflecting everything, specifically social media. I would like to see Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio be a reflection of how attention is gathered, gained, and leveraged and used against people nowadays. We all know that Spider-Man lives in this world of, I'm on my phone, I want people to he does like people giving him attention. He lives or dies by how people view him. Similar to Batman, but Spider-Man, I think, is much more vulnerable to these things because he's 15, and I think this is territory that people haven't really treaded in any sort of superhero cinema. This is why I have all these little pink phones in the background. I'd like to see Mysterio use Spider-Man's youth against him, so he doesn't punch people hard. He's not flipping off buildings and just doing like, prestidigitation, and just fading in and out and floating and shit like that. I would love to see Mysterio using everyone as sort of his zombie minions, but not in a typical way where like, oh, kill Spider-Man, but sort of like him creating illusions, not with his hands and manipulating the physical world, but the digital world. I'd like to see him be this weird sulking creature in the shadows who lives on his computer and lives on his phone and is able to get people to, using Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, using everything to get people to flock to these zones where Spider-Man can't really do anything. I haven't fleshed out this concept completely, but I want to see him use the popularity contest that is the internet against Spider-Man to the point where he doesn't really want to go out, almost like cyberbullying him into being fucked up. And yeah, he should have some kind of fighting ability, but I want to see the majority of this movie take place online somehow, on social media, with Peter Parker's friends talking about him and sort of making it debilitating for him mentally to deal with this. I want to see what happens when Spider-Man has to live with the fact that people really don't like him on social media. And I mean, like, I want to see something where thousands of people all around the world are just retweeting like awful shit about him constantly. I want to see if he can get out of that. And I know it might seem minor. It might seem a thing like, oh, just turn your phone off. But I'm gonna bet that he can overcome this, but that it's going to hurt him a lot in a very specific, interesting way. I'd like to know what you guys would like to see out of a Jake Gyllenhaal Mysterio. I imagine they will not be going the way that I would predict it or have designed it, and they're probably going to go with a big fishbowl head and the cape and all that shit, which is, it's going to be kind of corny. I want to see something more pared down, because Jake Gyllenhaal has already gone through this territory. Of course, I mean, this guy's a shooter. He knows what he's doing, Jake Gyllenhaal, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Did you guys like Spider-Man 1? Again, let me know your comments on this new casting. I'm curious about it, because I think this has a lot of potential here.
Yo. What I look like, a violin?